I'm Susan Coale, Director of Chesapeake Life Center at Hospice of the Chesapeake. And I'd like to talk with you today a little bit about pandemic fatigue. It's been a long year, and finding hope. It takes a lot of energy just to make it through every day sometimes, and finding hope can be a challenge. So I'd like to talk a little bit about that today. In a recent survey, 40% of the people responding stated that they had feelings of anxiety and depression around dealing with the pandemic. Baseline usually is like 25%. So people are really feeling this. If you're struggling, you are really not alone. And it makes sense. There's a lot of uncertainty. We don't have a sense of control. Lots of things going on to cause us anxiety. There are a lot of losses. We've lost the ability to take part in important events, had to change ways to connect with family and friends. We can't travel. So many changes, and anytime there's a change, there's often a loss associated with it. It's fatiguing just to juggle so many demands. I think about parents at home, working from home, and trying to monitor their children's schooling. There's a lot going on. The natural expected response to sustained or unresolved adversity in our lives is the stress response. It's a disruption to our nervous system. Our brains don't like uncertainty, and we are made to respond in very particular ways to stress and to threat. Now, one of the current theories being used to look at this is called polyvagal theory. And it's basically built around what do our bodies do when they're under stress. And there are a variety of options open to our brains. One is immobilization, sort of like a cat appearing to drop dead at the vet's office, even though they're healthy. That's a stress response, just become immobile. And some people have responded that way to the pandemic, just sort of contracting down, pulling into themselves, isolating. Another very normal response of the body, you've heard about the fight and the flight. And the fight may take the form of complaining a lot about everything that's going on, or refusing to comply with some of the restrictions, wishing that everything would just go back to the way it was. And others take flight by immersing ourselves in Netflix or just sort of avoiding, distracting all the time. Obviously, becoming immobilized, fighting, or flighting don't serve us well right now. And we do have another coping mechanism available to us, and that's the social engagement system. You've heard people say, I suspect, that we're hardwired as human beings to want to be in community, to be connected to each other. And it is this very social engagement system which offers us a way to manage stressful times and hope for the future. What this system does is it helps us find and foster feelings of safety and connection with others. Think about that safety in numbers. A threat can be alleviated, and our overall sense of mental well-being can increase when we have that sense of connection and community. So indeed, the antidote to surviving this threat of the pandemic in terms of our mental health is building and maintaining relationships. How do we do that? How do we connect with others and with ourselves? Because I think that's a piece of it too. So there are a variety of things that I think sometimes we don't think about, that we do have control over. One of those is our expectations of ourselves. What are those expectations? How high are they? Do they perhaps need adjusting? Are you one of those folks who thought that with all of this extra time at home, you'd get all those projects done? check out those expectations. If they tend to be unrealistic, see if you can't move that bar a little bit into something that's uh, more doable, that will give you a sense of success and competency. And it's really helpful for something like this to check in with a friend. A friend is going to have a different perspective that can help you figure that out. It's important to stay active and do things that lift your mood, and skip what you can that stresses you out. I had a hard day a couple of days ago and had plans for the evening, and I realized that those plans were actually just adding stress, what I needed to get done. And so I created a little space and said, you know what I need, what will lift me, is to go outside and take a walk in the snow. And I did that. It wasn't very long, 20 minutes. Came back, my mood was better, I was energized, and what I wanted to accomplish in the evening didn't seem so stressful after all. So it's that choosing to do things that lift our mood that can be so important. Another thing folks are struggling with at home is boundaries. It's really hard. How do you make space, physical space for everybody, and how do you find ways to let people have some alone time? Because when everybody's at home all day, every day, that gets pretty difficult. It's a good conversation to have with those that you live with. Finding the right amount of structure versus flexibility in a day is important, especially if you have children in the home. Children need a sense of routine that gives them a sense of security. So they kind of need to know, we get up, we brush our teeth and make our bed, and then we have breakfast, and, that's helpful to them. But to make a routine that's so strict that there's no time to stop and have a little fun or to connect or to laugh, that's suffocating. So we just need that sense of what's next. And again, it's differentiating what can I control versus what can I not control, so that you're setting up things that you can control. You can decide when is going to be family movie night, when is bath time, those kinds of things that you can control. Believe it or not, prioritizing care of yourself can be a really important part of finding hope. Think about it. When you feel better, when you feel rested and nourished with good food, then the world looks better. Life looks better. Things feel hopeful. So taking time to nourish and care for your body, as well as to engage in activities that bring meaning to your life, whether that's painting or reading or journaling, that kind of self-care makes other things easier. Related to this is that idea of finding meaning. I think of all of the volunteers that we have who work with our agency and how we hear from them. They miss coming in to work with us, not just for the human contact, but because it gives them a sense of meaning and purpose in the world. So you may have to hunt to find different things. It might be that now you're doing a virtual event to raise money for a cause that you believe in. Or it might be simply calling or texting older people that you know to make sure they're okay, or to find out if they need you to go get some groceries and drop on their front step. Find things that provide you with a sense of meaning and purpose. And I know that you hear it over and over. It is certainly a bit overused these days, but the idea of practicing gratitude, real gratitude, is so important to finding hope. So many have lost so much during this past year. And even those people that I meet, that I talk to, that I work with, find things that make them grateful. Whether it was the tender, loving care that a healthcare provider gave them, or whether it was just that they were able to visit with other people virtually. There are things. There is beauty. There is goodness. And those things are what we can choose to dwell on. Again, that word choice. Um, our brains have a negativity bias. We tend to want to go to the negative. And so it does take a conscious choice on our part to turn our brain from focusing on the negative to focusing on the positive. And so not just thinking about those things for which you're grateful, but sharing that with someone, talking with someone about the beautiful icicles hanging from your front porch, or the sunshine of the day, or the magnificence of the sunset. Those kinds of things that as you focus on can really bring a sense of hope. There are things that aren't changing. The sun rises and is beautiful. The sun sets. And so finding those nourishing things that you can count on are so important. And if there are times that you find no hope, that you cannot find any light in the darkness, please reach out for help. There is help available. Many mental health practitioners are now doing their work via telehealth. There's a suicide hotline, 800-273-8255 is the National Suicide Hotline. Please know that there are people who care about you and who will support you and help you get through this. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. Take care of yourself. Take care of those around you. Be safe.